Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the Pettifoggers podcast. Let's all take a moment to look at Lols and see how defensive she is, and just wonder what she just said out loud. So sit with that for a minute. The game we played this week was World of Warcraft Classic, and Bells is going to tell us a little bit about it. Actually, he's demanded that he's the one that tells us about it because
Yeah.
he doesn't think we know enough about it. So, Bells, tell us about World of Warcraft,
S-
specifically Classic.
Specifically, classic World of Warcraft first came out in 2004, becoming one of the most popular MMOs of that year and era. Realistically, it is an era-defining game. It has very much been played by multiple people for the years, absolutely loving it, and it's just a truly wonderful game. I personally played it, started playing it in the Burning Crusade, and it continued into Wrath of the Lich King and Cataclysm. Fell out of love with it, back into it, and I have to say there's been a lot of changes, and I'm loving it. So basically, when I say World of Warcraft is a MMO, it is a massively online multiplayer.
Cool, thank you for that. What I enjoyed
No,
most
massive
about
multiplayer
the
online.
intro,
Fuck.
the thing I enjoyed most about that intro was there was
Yeah,
absolutely no bias about the game at all. Um,
yeah,
No
none
so,
whatsoever.
facts.
Lols,
Just
Lols, as someone who hasn't played World of Warcraft before, can you
I have
explain
played
to
it
us?
before.
Okay, well, you played it again today, but as someone like me who doesn't have too much information about World of Warcraft, can you explain what the game is?
Yeah, it's a leveling based multiplayer game where you can play solo or you can play with a raid. You have to go into dungeons and caves and stuff and kill monsters or beasts or whatever you want to call them to complete quests, make money, and therefore I assume you can then personalize your characters and get additional items. And if you ever get that far along, yeah, I think that would explain roughly what it is.
Fair enough. Okay. A little bit of feedback on the game then. We know Bells loves it. What did you think about it, Lols?
I think if I understood the game better, I could probably enjoy it. However, I found it extremely confusing and kind of felt like I was being handheld the whole way,
Handheld it.
and I don't know how I would have played it without Bells helping us, because it is extremely confusing what you have to do. I get that, like, there is like marks on the map and stuff like that, but it just doesn't give you a lot of guidance, and I think I would need more guidance to be able to play it further, especially if I
Very
was
much
doing it
sends you
solo.
off on your own.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to agree. It didn't. It wasn't clear at all what you're meant to be doing. The menus didn't really help. It was very much just click on things and find out for yourself. But yeah, I mean, we had Bells that could just tell us. Um, I would also say we played it for 2 hours, maybe just over 2 hours, and we didn't do anything, unless that is just a game. We just wandered around and clicked on things until they died.
Well, supposedly, when we get to certain levels, it opens up to be able to go into dungeons and raids and stuff, which is where the game opens
Dungeons
up.
and raids, they're still just clicking on things until they die, no?
They added more game mechanics at that point. So what you basically done was the starting area, which is very much like there's not much will attack you, there's not much stronger than you, or like will come after you. They don't really have a lot of spells, they don't have a lot of quirks to them. As you level up, stuff gets more complex. They make it harder as
So,
such.
do you have to, like, for example, one monster or enemy might be okay with like a sword, so
Yep.
you have to use like a spell or something, so you
Yep.
have to work out what's best to use against them.
There's certain monsters that will be fully resistant for certain attacks. As in, like, if you are a mage, for example, and you're fighting what is a fire elemental, and you shoot a fireball at it, the fireball will have absolutely no effect. Vice versa, if it's an ice, anything to do with ice, it will be completely resistant to that. Enemies get tougher, they have more armor, they drop better loot. It's just a progressional system to encourage you to level, to encourage you to loot items and get better items. What we played was basically the starting off bog standard, classic, original 2004 again, but with a twist where they've changed stuff. It's called, people are referring to it as Classic Plus. It's called Season of Discovery, where Blizzard has basically added in some new tweaks in the form of what's going in? Runes. That's it. Runes. Where basically you go around the world and you discover these runes, these spells. Some might be useful for some classes, might be some for not, which we discovered by trial and error of we found a guy wandering around. I've never seen the mob before, and the only one that could challenge him was Pierce. And Pierce was the only one after we fought him. All 5 of us figured we might get something. Pierce was the only one that got anything out of it at that time. So it's really just to add a new spin on the original Classic. Now, I know Classic is not for everyone. It is a bit of a grind, and I'd love to try these on retail because it is a very different experience.
I think I played retail before.
No.
Just on the retail one. So what's the difference between Classic and retail? Because we obviously played Classic for a couple of hours earlier, but I personally have never played retail, so I don't know what what the differences are. So yeah.
So basically, on retail is a far quicker experience to get into the more interesting content on World of Warcraft. Classic is basically the old OG way World of Warcraft used to be, where you had to really grind out levels to get to playing PvP, to playing dungeons, where you have to run to dungeons to to do them. Whereas in Classic, so put a quick example. We have done 2.5 hours, right? 2.5 hours, right? And what level? We ended up about level 6 in about 2.5 hours on Classic Season of Discovery. In retail, I'm fairly confident in about 2 hours you would be at least level 12 or 13, and you would already be doing dungeons and stuff. You'd already be able to do PvP. And you'd be doing loads of different types of dungeons. It used to be that you'd do dungeons in increments, but now you can jump into any dungeon anytime, and you'll be level matched to what is in that dungeon. So you don't have to grind out the same way you used to, as you experienced in classic Season of Discovery. There, you just pretty much, as soon as you hit 10, right, you can do PvP, you can do dungeons, you can do a lot more like end game content.
Does the actual gameplay change? Like, do they explain things better? Do you like have pointers on the mini map or anything like that?
So they actually have. So you were both complaining about not knowing where anything was, right? I am aware because I used to play World of Warcraft. You just don't understand the frustration. At that time, when I first started playing, you didn't even have, like what you experienced there, you didn't have anything that pointed you in the right direction. You would have to sit and read the quests word for word to know where stuff was. You know, like a guy would say, south of here, you'd hit the crossroads, and then you'd go east from there, and there'd be a tunnel where my purse is that you need to bring back to me. And you would have to read that or spend an hour running around wondering where you're meant to be going, like Pierce did. You had a few times where you're like, what are we doing? What's happening here? It wasn't clearly explained. What they've also done is, in retail compared to classic, is there is far more layered quests, right? So when I say a layered quest, we started there, we killed a load of trogs, we killed a load of wolves, we killed a load of boars. And there were still boars, there were still trogs, they were all running around, nothing changed. In an effort to improve that, World of Warcraft brought out what is called a layered leveling experience. It's called an island in Battle for Azeroth, right? So, Lol, you were saying, like, was there any more pointers and clear cut? This was literally the level to improve the leveling experience for teaching people how to play the game. As in, they would teach you how to attack, what spells to use, how to use them. The NPCs would direct you on how to play it, and they would drop you into a quick dungeon with a few other people, of the same level. It would be very much kids gloves on when it came to how you would run through it. But you'd get a lot more information about how the game works and different aspects of how you should play, and rules within the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be one of the biggest differences. It would definitely be a lot kinder playing retail.
So I think retail's more made for the like modern day gaming type of thing, really, as opposed
I
to
would say
classic.
casual. Very like the casual player. You know what I mean? Someone that hasn't got a lot of time, wants to play the game, doesn't want to spend 2.5 hours killing a lot of boars, trogs, and whatnot just to get to the second village. Think, fuck, we gotta kill more boars.
So with the
Hmm?
retail, then, if you level up maybe double the speed,
Yeah.
is there a higher ceiling that you need to get to?
So I believe now this is my understanding of how retail works now. Because obviously I've only recently got back into it. I've maybe been playing about a month and a bit of World of Warcraft now. My understanding would be that I think retail is far more casual for people that don't have a lot of time. I feel like the ceiling really kicks in when you hit 60 and you can no longer play the old. Not that you can't no longer play. World of Warcraft, in an effort to let people play all the old content, basically made it that your level would be matched out by where you're leveling, right? You know the way when we were leaving, stuff was getting easier to kill, right? Well, in World of Warcraft and now in retail, they will constantly, if you level up, they'll level up. You could keep fighting the same mob the whole way up until 60, where at that point you need to get the most recent update of World of Warcraft to then progress to the cap level, basically.
Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, and you mentioned the fighting there, which seems to be all we did. My main issue with the game is it doesn't take any skill.
Yep.
All I would do is walk up to stuff and
Mhm.
then right click, and my man would
Mhm.
just stand there and go,
Mhm. Mhm.
uh,
Yep.
and every now
Which,
and then
in
I'd hit
fairness,
3, 4,
though,
or 5 on
it
my
is
thing, so he
doesn't.
did a bit more damage.
In fairness, a lot of MMOs are like that. Like RuneScape is like that, and I wouldn't say
In
New World
RuneScape, then you
is,
need to
but
go and collect stuff though.
yeah, what you do in World of Warcraft, you have to collect items and things like that and
But we didn't
loot.
go like foraging or anything, did we?
We had to help out Felix.
I think it was a very
Sprinkles
early
walking?
game because I
I mean,
did
like
notice
chopping
there
down
was,
trees.
but there was like herbs and stuff that you could get and things like that, but I couldn't do because I didn't have the skill. So I assume that is later game that you've got more skills that you can do and more things that you can
So
get.
I can tell you right now, in Classic, there. I don't know about Season of Discovery. I am still very fresh to Season of Discovery. The highest level I have is a level 9 Warlock, so I am by no means far into it. Right. What I can tell you is, for most Classic, you will not have what Pierce is talking about there, where you'd start chopping down trees and stuff. You have professions that you can level up that will help you in the game. That's a secondary thing. What they did add was in later expansions, so Wrath of the Lich King and stuff, they had that layered questing experience, Pierce, where you would have a quest, you'd kill a load of stuff, right? Or you'd fight or defend something or get a certain item, and then the whole world would change. You would be phased into another layer where, say, you've saved the castle was being attacked, you saved it. Well, in the next thing, it's a little bit battered and stuff, but it's saved. you don't, the world changes based on how you complete quests.
Bit like Age
was
of
what they-
Empires when you level up to like Stone Age or like Iron Age and things like that.
Exactly.
Okay, fair enough.
There's constant progression. Now, in some of the later expansions, specifically with you saying chopping down trees and stuff, they definitely added more secondary stuff that you would do. So the likes of Warlords of Draenor, you would start a garrison, I believe it's called, where you would go out in the world, get supplies for the garrison to build your garrison up, send out your NPCs to do missions and stuff for you. The coolest thing about that is those NPCs, you have to find them in quests. You have to find them in the world. You can't you're not given them. You have to play the game to find your NPCs. As you find them, they're added into your garrison, and you can see them walking around. They'll say hello to you and stuff like that. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's cool to see a progression in the game. I feel like that's what you were struggling with a lot in the classic era stuff there, where you were just hidden.
Just wasn't enough to do. It was the same thing like early game, for example. Like it was just very.
See, and you wouldn't get a lot of difficulty early game until you're like hitting the point where you're going to dungeons, and if you can start dying very easily in a dungeon, and people are giving off if you're not doing the right thing, it's more you need to be aware. That's where more difficulty gets into it. We could always play hardcore, and if you died at any point, that would be it.
Nope.
Lon and I would be gone very early on.
So, I mean, my biggest issue with the game was I had to pay full attention to it, but it was completely mindless. I may as well have just been sat playing like Cookie Clicker or whatever it is, where you just click a cookie for 2.5 hours. Like, I couldn't sit and watch a film or something at the same time because I have to look at the screen to make sure I'm not dying or no one else is dying. But I didn't actually have to do, like, it wasn't a challenge. There was no satisfaction in anything. You just killed a rabbit and that was it. Or like you'd kill a boar and then go, cool, I'm gonna go kill another boar now. That for 2.5 hours actually just was probably the most boring game I think I've ever played. And if we talk about the price of games, that is fucking daylight robbery that they're charging. Was it £10 a month to play that game? It actually makes me feel a little bit sick, and I'm going to go and cancel my subscription immediately to make sure I don't do what I normally do, which is
forget about it.
Forget about it. And then the second month rolls around and you go, oh shit, and then you have to go and like, I paid £10 to just click on some animals for 2.5 hours, and that was pretty much it.
See, I don't feel that strongly against it.
It's completely,
there's nothing enjoyable about it.
Completely, like, but that's me. I don't mind that because I can see a progression in level. You see a progression as your character grows and develops that way. I will agree with you. The early game grind has always been such a bad point for World of Warcraft. It really has. I feel like in retail they developed it better in how they go about it. I put it this way, Pierce. You know the way we were doing boars and you weren't getting the boar meat every boar? When you can there is a quest on the Horde side where you are to kill basically zebras and to get their hoofs. And a zebra was never guaranteed. The drop percentage was so low, sometimes you would not get them. You would murder so many zebras and you had to get a hoof. And these zebras have 4 hooves on their model, but not one was able to be picked up. And it's like you're like, what's the mindset here? Like, you have to have these things, like you can see them, and you can spend like an hour and a bit trying to grind away. I feel like they've improved it a lot, where you're not spending hours, but that is very much the early grind of World of Warcraft.
So this is another thing as well: the character selection. It didn't say anything on the character selection screen that certain species, I guess we can call them, spawn in the same place. So there's 2 alliances, right, with 4 species in each one, right? Is that the right term? Species, races?
Races.
Yeah, so there's 8 races. They're split into 2
Mhm.
alliances. In my mind, you just go, oh, okay, well, I'll choose any of them.
Mhm.
But apparently, you need to be in the same alliance,
Mhm.
party up, right? Or
Yep.
you need to. But then there's 2 spawn points, so you could only actually be 2 races, to
You
then
you could be
be put near each other.
more, but see the way you could be more. This is so I was trying to explain the handiest way is to be within a certain range because you can run to each other. It's difficult, but it can be done, right? So the reason I said look, these are ones are starting in the same area was just for handiness. In the original World of Warcraft, now I will say one thing: it does tell you that they are in it, but it is very poorly done because it is in. Do you remember on the right hand side when you're creating your character, there were 3 blocks of text? Well, that
Mhm.
is race, location. So like the chunk of story, class, and race. Like, what does a race give you? Where are they starting? What's their goals? Your class is what your class does. Like, so a warrior, you're there to take damage, you're there to deal damage. You can do X, Y, Z. And the last one is what's the horde's main goals at the minute? Why the horde? That way. But it's all in such big blocky text on the original classic. It was one I can understand why you're thinking there's no information about this because you could easily spend like 10-15 minutes reading through that alone. For each race, there's 8 races to pick from, and
Yeah.
you'd be
So I mean,
picking each one.
my point really is
Yeah.
it's very complex and
Mm-hmm.
complicated for a
Mhm.
very, very basic game.
Mhm.
And I know this game came out 20 years ago.
19.
Really?
This is its 19th,
Nearly
19th
20
anniversary,
years ago.
20th next year.
Okay. So it is a very basic game, but it's
Mhm.
so complicated. And if I was playing this game on my own, or it was just me and Lowell was loading in, and we didn't really know what was going on,
Mm.
I don't think I'd have played it for more than 5 or 10 minutes. I'd have just
Mm.
given up and gone,
Mm.
this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like, and to be fair, even when we got into it and you sort of held our hands through it,
Mhm.
I don't ever want to play it again.
Mhm.
It was mind-numbingly boring. It actually gave me a bit of a headache
Yeah.
because we didn't have there was no fulfillment in the game.
Mhm.
Like nothing happened.
Yeah. So do you know what? I could tell it very easily, and I'll stand up and put it. For me, it's fine because obviously I played this originally. This is like a nostalgia trip for me. Like I already understand, and I also like that mindless grind because you're saying like you're paying attention to your stuff. I'll happily watch stuff on the side and not be paying attention to the character as I'm progressing on because I know I only have to do X, Y, Z to be fine. What I will say is like this is where I was like midway through. I was like, and Raven raised a valid point when he was there. He's like, should have got you playing retail because retail
Even the
has
changes you've told us in
yeah
retail, it's not going to grasp me.
no.
You're
But I
not
think that would be
building
I
towards.
think I think
your your kind of like I like RuneScape, and RuneScape is very similar.
Mhm.
But I like that. But if you
Mhm.
don't like that kind of thing, I don't think you're gonna like it.
I enjoyed New World. So if we're basing it on other MMOs, I played New World and I enjoyed it. The
Mhm.
fighting, you actually fought. You had to hit the people. It was similar, and you had different stuff that you could equip that had different abilities. But you
Mhm.
had to actually fight and press buttons. And then yeah, you could go and chop down wood, and you would use that to build stuff and whatever else. And you got into it immediately, and then
Mhm.
it was still a bit of a grind, but you could go and do whatever you wanted straight away. And yeah, it just felt more whole. And I know it's a game that's come out 15 years later than World of
Mhm.
Warcraft, so there's been that whole length of time that they've had to plan,
Yeah.
and other games have helped step up
Mhm.
the sort of limit of what you can do. So I understand that, but we're basing the game on now.
Mhm.
It's it's a game I'm never going back to. I'm never going to play that game. Even the retail version, like it
Mhm.
still feels like it's not really a step up. You're not building towards. Like if you could have like clan base or something that you could build. You have to go out and get. You could chop down trees and put that towards it, or even just like a town center where you could
Yeah.
go and build your own armor or build your own weapons and whatever else.
Mm.
But on this, it just seems that
Yeah.
you collect stuff, you sell it, and then you
Yeah.
buy stuff, and then you go and collect stuff and sell it and buy stuff. And
See,
that's it.
that's what I'm saying. Like where in later expansions they did do that. You had like your own hometown, home base. It's your base. You're the one that's in charge of it. How it's growing, what goes into it. And that was in like Warlords of Draenor. I can't even advise what it's like in Dragonflight because I don't know. Do they still do that? I just know you can go and play it like Warlords of Draenor because
But are these
you can do it.
expansions you have to pay for?
Nope, no. So allow me to like. There's another thing. You used to have to pay for all the expansions plus the subscription years ago. I don't know when they done away with it, but it's one of the best things ever. So that's when you were saying like about the price point of $9.99. But I was like, I can view it from my experience of like how it used to be, where you had to pay. Like if you wanted to play it right now, you would have had to have paid for Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, Battle for Azeroth. Wait, what was Battle? No, Mists of Pandaria, Battle for Azeroth, Warlords of Draenor, and Dragonflight. So you would have had to pay for 7 different expansions and then a $9.99 charge if it was still doing the old pay system it used to do. Whereas at least now, where you pay $9.99 for the retail version, you get it plus any of the classic servers you want if you want to play them. No, it's not your cup of tea, like, but you have at least a little bit more extra, and you only have to buy. Even in retail, you can pay $9.99. You can get up to level 60. If you want to get to the higher levels to do the latest content, you have to buy the most recent expansion. But that's up to you,
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go for some. We need to go whether you play it again first, right? Okay. So would we play it again? I have given my view. I'm definitely not going to play it again. Bells, we already know you're absolutely going to jump back into it in
Yeah.
10 minutes when we finish recording. Lols, are you going to play the game again?
I would be willing to give retail a go. But I feel like I think it was retail that I played last year. However, I played on my own. So playing it on my own, I think will make a big difference. I'd be willing to give retail a go. However, I'm back and forth with like RuneScape and stuff like that. So for me, like, is it different enough? I like RuneScape. I know the map of RuneScape. So is it different enough that I'd like choose to play that over RuneScape? Probably not. We'll see how retail goes.
Okay. I would point out I am a very stingy man and I have paid for a month. So if you are going to play retail, I could be convinced. But I
Within
imagine
this
I would.
month. Within this month.
Within this month. There's not a fucking chance after this month. There is a big chance I'll play it for 10 minutes and just go, nope.
3 months later. Here, Pierce, you want to jump on for retail?
I
No, I haven't paid. Oh my
that's
god,
not
I've been
gonna
paying.
happen.
However, I
Yeah.
didn't like the tutorial island on the retail. I got very bored of the island.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to skip ahead. So I don't know if that's possible, but
I'm
just-
absolutely not making it through the island.
I don't know if you're able to skip it. I think. Well, you don't have to do the island. You could do their original leveling locations rather than the island. You don't have to do the island. You could experience something else. So you can.
Okay, we'll get to that bit later.
Anyway.
So ratings then. Bells, let's start with you.
So I'm trying not to. I was going to abstain actually from ratings because obviously I'm a big passionate person for World of Warcraft. I have very
Absolutely
much
acceptable.
Yeah. So I've been very much like a passionate person. I know a lot of the lore and all behind it. That's the thing I love about World of Warcraft. Like the gameplay is great for me, but I also love a really filled story when it comes to games. Anything you can have me in your corner when it comes to anything. If the like genre or the game has a really flushed out story, which World of Warcraft does. If I was rating it based on how I feel people would enjoy it. I feel like Season of Discovery, which is what we were playing, is a. I'm going to give 2. This you're not going to be annoyed about this, Pierce. I'm giving 2 for a brand new
Just
player.
what
For a
you
brand new
would rate
player,
it.
it's a 4. It's a 3 out of 10 for a brand new player going into Season of Discovery. No one has the time to do that level of grinding anymore. When it comes to Season of Discovery, it is a 9 out of 10 for someone that is coming back into World of Warcraft, has experienced it before, knows how the game plays, and has seen, oh my god, they're giving me spells that I never would have got before until level 30, 20, 40, whatever. And given it, oh, I have to go look for this. Oh, it's not just given to me. That's one thing I would say. So I would say it is like a 3 out of 10 for a brand new person. No
So
one
you're
brand
giving
new
it a
to the
9,
game.
yeah?
And I'm giving it a 9. For me, if I like it as a returning
Okay.
player.
That's fair enough. I'm going to give it a 2, because as much as I hated it, I still have to give it some credit because there wasn't any bugs. It played very smoothly. We didn't have any issues other than Lols downloading the wrong game, but we weren't going to mention that.
You are absolutely going to mention that.
As soon as he said it, I'm like, oh, he's just planned that perfectly.
There wasn't any bugs. It did run smoothly, but I had absolutely no fulfillment playing it. It just wasn't enjoyable.
It was finding out that you
Um,
couldn't have a pet, wasn't it?
That did annoy me as well. Like, it didn't say anywhere on that screen that you can get pets, and I wasn't allowed one. But I'd already played it for like half an hour at that point, and I absolutely was not going to go and do that same thing again. So yeah, it's a 2 from me. Lols, what are you giving it?
The fact that I got very confused if there was a better, like, I hate tutorials, don't get me wrong. And maybe like that, me playing retail last year is a prime example. I don't like tutorials, but that just felt like I was going in blind, and there was so many menus like that I didn't know what I was doing with. If they could improve that, maybe I'd score it a bit higher, but I'd probably say a 4.
Fair enough. Right. That's all of the World of Warcraft talk I can put up with. At least for today. Maybe tomorrow I'll allow
I was
some
going to
more.
say, we do a podcast every week with Bells of Steel. You're going to be speaking about World of Warcraft again.
Yeah, right.
For today, that's my quota. This is, by the way, a bonus podcast that's coming out because we're going to be doing another one this week, or next week, depending on when this goes out. I've been on holiday from work for 2 weeks. I can't remember what day it is. We're going to be playing Warzone on the 6th, which is going to be the Wednesday, because Warzone 3.0, I think everyone's calling it, is dropping, and I'm very excited for that. So yeah, that's another one coming out very soon. Other games that are coming out in this sort of short gap between the 3rd or 4th of December to the 6th, I've got a few on my screen. Disney Dreamlight Valley gets its full release. We did mention that the other day. I will jump on that at some point and give it a little play. So fun.
Are we gonna get a Pierce's Corner mini review or something?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'll probably jump on stream for it. Maybe. Another game which I've only just seen today, but it's called Born of Bread. Looks a lot like Paper Mario, that style of thing.
Oh, right. Okay.
Looks as though it's quite funny. So I might have a look at that. It says it's coming out on Switch and PC. The style of it looks quite fun. Very much Paper Mario styling. Yeah, that looks like a fun one.
Can I say what I thought it was going to be just before you continue on?
Born of Bread, yeah.
Yeah, I thought finally a baking simulator that I can enjoy. Oh, brilliant!
I think you are like a man made of bread.
Oh.
But yeah, and I think there's a lot of bread puns in it, so you could still enjoy it. Also, Fortnite yesterday had a major update. None of us have played that yet, have we?
Nope.
I just know
I
we
know
have the M&M event and all there going on. People are raving.
And Peter Griffin's in it now.
Yes.
So that's fun.
I'm really sorry, but your Cooper's eating your tree behind you. For anyone that can't see,
I can
Piers has a
see.
nice Christmas tree in his
I'm here.
background, and his golden retriever is currently
I'm here.
munching on the on the leaves or the
Using
lights.
the Christmas tree again. We went through this last year.
He's like
Kissing
my
my
old
hands
friend.
now in apology.
My old
Okay.
friend, the tree.
Leave the
is
tree
back.
alone. Thank you. It's been a good day. Yeah, for some reason he really likes to eat the Christmas tree. Does anyone else's pets do that?
No,
Um,
it's all,
but yeah,
all you, Billy.
so there was a Fortnite event. None of us have played that yet, but that's pretty big, I guess.
Mhm.
Any other games that are coming out in that little
Is
window there, Lols?
that one that I keep mentioning coming out the day after or something like that? That's coming out, maybe.
It's going straight back to the Christmas tree, by the way. I can see it.
Yeah, that zombie
Oh,
game
okay.
is supposed to be coming out this week, I believe. Whether it's before our next game, I don't know. But yeah, so I am
Yeah.
looking forward to that. But
Seems
No.
a weird one that. Like it's still on Steam, you can't buy it. You can only
Yeah.
it's odd.
They don't
Like,
even
so
tell a
I'd be
price, do they?
interested
They
to
don't
see
tell you a price on it, do they?
exactly.
I've been
So I'd be
seeing
interested to see if it does actually release on when it's meant to.
I've been seeing a lot of news about it, and a lot of people commenting that they do this. They have been pushing it back and pushing it back continuously. So
I think they'll push it back again. Yeah.
yeah,
Is it a good thing though? I don't feel like I give off to. I don't know if I give off a lot about pushing back and pushing back if the game when it finally releases is a good game.
I
You
think it's a
know?
good thing if they're communicating it, but if
Mhm.
it's releasing in
yeah.
tomorrow or whenever it is, and they still haven't said
Mhm.
this is being pushed back to February 2024, you need to let people know way in advance. Because people that have been looking forward to this will book days off of work. Like that's
Yes.
not an unheard of thing. So if they've leaving it till the day before, people are just going to be sat off work, not doing anything. So yeah, I think it is a good thing because then you get a polished, finalized game, but it needs to be communicated in advance. There's one more game which I've got, and it's called A Highland Song, and it's like a sort of adventure game, but I think you have to do it to like a rhythm, which looks really interesting. I remember seeing a little bit about it, but that's releasing on the 5th as well. So there's another one.
Is that like hi-fi?
Yeah.
Maybe.
A lot of there is a lot of rhythm based games so there
No,
is out there.
I don't know. Yeah, this one's it looks like sort of story based adventure. It's interesting. I don't really know how to explain it, but maybe just give it a little look on
Mm.
Steam and
Mhm.
a little ponder. Or maybe just watch some people play it on Twitch.
Mm.
That might be what I do. Okay, so yeah, we're going to be back on Wednesday with Warzone. We're all
Yep.
really looking forward to that. There's going to be another episode of the podcast coming out this week. So amazing if you like listening to the podcast. If you don't, then it's the worst news. But just don't listen
Sorry.
to it while you're here. God. So there's only one thing left to do, and Bells has decided that because this podcast was all look at him celebrating already,
Yeah.
because this episode was about World of Warcraft, he is going to do the outro, and he's going to do it portraying his favourite World of Warcraft character, who I
Oh.
don't know who that is. I don't know if it's a big troll or an orc or even just a human.
Mhm.
But he said he's gonna nail the accent and the mannerisms, and he's even made out of cardboard a shield and an axe, or he's got some fairy liquid he's going to throw at the screen. I don't know what he's going to do, but he said it's a really big production that he's put into
Oh.
place. So Bells, crack on with the outro, buddy.
Good luck with that one.
Indeed. No, Pierce is quite correct in the statement that I am going to do an outro. However, unfortunately, the situation has occurred in which my dog has eaten both the cardboard shield and the cardboard sword. I was
And the
preparing.
fairy liquid.
Oh no, we managed to prevent the fairy liquid, but unfortunately,
Ah.
we have no water in this house. It has stopped working. The pipes are frozen. Disaster has happened in my household. I will not be doing an accent because I am atrocious at accents, as Pierce well knows.
At least you
But
have dressed up as Little Red Riding Hood for us.
on fleek. Let me just say thank you very much for tuning in on the Pettifoggers podcast this week. We hope to see you next time. Be sure to drop a subscribe, to also drop a like down below, and make sure to ring the bell just so you get notifications every time we put a video up. I have been Bells of Steel, Lollington X, and cheers for Pierce.
And Cooper.
I'm going to go and throw my dog out of the window.
With a
Come on,
special
fucking
feature from
spirit.
the tree.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.